But Ian,
We're here.
we're recording. We've been recording for
Oh my god.
maybe about 10 minutes now. Great to finally get you on. It's been a while. I've asked you a few times and it's like, oh yeah, we'll just...
Wait, when did you ask me?
Oh,
I don't think so. Oh, live in person.
yeah. The Gong Show. Well, they have a minute to do as many.
I'm sorry.
I think I asked you then, but
I am just I'm deaf in this ear, by the way.
you're a busy man, but...
But this ear's deaf.
Oh.
So maybe you were standing here when you asked me.
Oh, man. Yeah, right. Okay.
Because sometimes you're sort of like, oh, yeah. And then and you're like, shit, I did miss something.
How does that go with the wife? Is that like
It's comforting.
Yeah?
Not, no, I mean, I'm not that deaf. Like, I mean, you do music.
Yeah.
Like, how would you say your hearing is? Have you had it tested?
I had a Green Day show in Australia a couple of years, just
Name
before
drop.
the COVID. And yeah, I didn't bring my earplugs and it was ringing for over 3 days.
okay.
And normally it goes away after the first day. So ever since that, all practices, all shows, earplugs.
There's an online test now. I mean, it's so good. And then you configure it and then you listen.
Oh, right.
And so it configures it to your headphones and then it does the test. And I have pretty good headphones. It's not like, and my right ear is like almost done.
Yeah.
And my left ear is bad, but not as bad. But it said in the guideline, like if you're missing these frequencies,
Yeah.
you'll have trouble hearing like ch, z, like basically the first beginning of every Chinese word.
syllable, yeah.
And it also says
Tones.
you'll have trouble hearing women and children.
Right.
And I was like, I wasn't listening.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice. So,
What did you say?
but I'm gonna this year. I'm gonna go get a hearing aid. It's crazy.
Yeah, right.
It's so good now. Like there's a one in the US. It's a subscription service.
All
So
right.
you subscribe to your hearing now. It's $5,000 a year, and it translates. The rest of your life is in
Wow.
English.
Maybe I need to get
yeah.
some hearing aids
But
as
that's
well.
yeah. And then there's one like implant that just stays in there. That's just better. So it's not like an old school hearing aid. I've been avoiding.
Better updated than the
The
ones
big-
that are hanging
yeah.
out of your ear.
In South Africa, I saw a guy who had no ears.
Oh, wow.
And like he was like clearly burnt in like some weird accident.
Yeah.
And then he was in charge of the home affairs where you get your passport renewed. And he's just such an asshole. And he was yelling at everyone in the line, and everyone was angry because the system was down.
Yeah.
And his hearing aid was like attached to his hair, and he was going bald.
dear.
So he just had this hearing aid clipped to his head, and it would
Dangling on the
and he
side.
was screaming at everyone. And I was like,
Oh, my God.
it's so weird. Anyway, but
Wow.
yeah, that's the plan. So sometimes I don't hear people if it's noisy. Like if you were talking to me and then there were two other people talking next to us, I probably wouldn't be able to hear.
You're a comedian and
Yeah.
you do the roaster. So I was just going to say it might match your hat that you're wearing.
The hearing aid?
Yeah. That's like my pop. Like my pop had the hearing aid and the hat and the glasses.
This is wear the hat for a while, and
Yeah.
then depending on how it goes, they were like, okay, you need this hearing aid.
Yeah.
But this is a
Yes.
step into. There's two reasons. One is I want to lean into stop wearing a baseball cap
Ah.
because I'm old.
Okay.
Right? And
So it has an age limit, a baseball cap?
yeah, I think there's a weird. I mean, I'll go, like out and about, but it's like at night. You don't want to be a. And then also I'm married, so you have to make one
So
fashion
that
faux
brings
pas.
it. Okay.
So that she'd be like, I hate that hat. You know what I mean? And then what happens is she hates the hat, and then the hate grows, and then
you
her
can't find that hat.
Her inner dialogue goes, but he's a good. And then she has to start listing the good stuff,
Yes.
and then you take the hat off, and then you're back on top. So
Got
it's
it.
like, I think that's. I mean, but all men need a thing. It's a uniform.
Yeah.
Rock t-shirts,
Come on. That's no, you can't.
classic sneakers. And
Heads
I
up
don't
on
even
the
like
Kiss. You don't like them, really?
no, I mean.
So are you like that one of those people that think that the Ramones is just a brand
I
name?
have
or...
4 Ramones t-shirts.
Yeah, really?
But no, I'm not
Okay.
like a Gen Z kid.
Right.
But no, the Ramones I do like. I always like punk.
Alright.
So the Ramones was up there. I had a NoFX shirt,
Come on.
the Punk and Drublick shirt.
You seem like a punk
Yeah,
listen-
skater
you-
punk.
Yeah,
kid.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
you listen to that sort of
When I was
style
a
of
kid,
music.
yeah.
Yeah.
Green Day was supposed to be. Billy Joel was supposed to be in Rancid.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Do you know that?
No.
They eventually made a band called the Armstrongs. So Tim Armstrong and Billy Joel Armstrong.
Yeah, right.
Pretty good collab.
Interesting. And
But yeah, I heard that he was supposed to, I don't know, play bass. Ended up not doing it, and then Green Day just exploded. It was at '94 at Woodstock.
oh, that Dookie album is still.
Yeah, it was like Woodstock '94 was when they like.
Oh, I still remember that Woodstock '94.
Yeah,
They're throwing all the mud on his guitar,
Yeah.
and he just still keeps playing away.
it was weird because it was that, and then my brother was like into punk and stuff, so he even hated Offspring, and because the Offspring were the first two albums were great, and then Green Day and Offspring sort of like became
A
the
little bit commercial.
like the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, like,
Yes.
and everyone was like they both, and then I remember the Spin Doctors also came out. And I had to reconcile the fact that I liked the Spin Doctors. That was like my guilty pleasure.
Yeah, right.
Don't tell my brother.
Where are they from? Are they?
I wouldn't have known. In South Africa, we didn't really get music videos. I remember
MTV?
that Woodstock thing was like the first that kids just playing and having fun.
Yeah.
And the mud thing kind of resembled the original Woodstock.
Yes.
Which was like a weird.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if anyone
I know.
knows what we're talking about.
And I've still got a Green Day ticket that was
Alright.
supposed to come to Hong Kong March 2020.
Oh, really?
And then, yeah, obviously.
Who's your best band you've seen in Shanghai?
Arch Enemy.
Oh, really?
They're a heavy metal band with a chick vocal. And they're not my favorite band, but when there's only certain bands that come
Yeah.
through here that...
The Pixies cancelled. That was supposed
Oh,
to come.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I saw Dinosaur Jr. That was my favorite.
I missed the Metallica. I missed
really?
Metallica here. They played here in
Okay.
2018, I think. Mercedes-Benz Arena. I was back at home, but anyway.
Yeah, Dinosaur Jr. was my favorite song. Freak Scene.
Yeah.
It was like not a breakup song, but when I was in high school, my girlfriend left to go to college, and then I was just like really sad, and then Freak Scene came on at the club, club I was at, and that song came on, and I was like, and then they played it in Shanghai, and I was just like,
that's what music's all about.
Yeah.
Where were you at that time when you first heard it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Speaking of being popular, Mr. Ian, we've got this voting thing with that Shanghai, and I'm also a part of it.
How did it go? I voted for you. I voted for Jens.
She. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how we went. There was another band that was way ahead, but
Yeah.
anyway. But on your side, you were smashing it as well. So
Yeah.
when are we gonna hear the results?
The problem is, it's not a problem. Is that it's all the commercial comedy. There's lots of comedy in Shanghai, and Spicy Comedy Club is the only real full-time commercial comedy club. And then Dawn Wong did her headline special. So she also was like promoted on that Shanghai. So if you look at the voting, it just looks like our Employee of the Month award.
Yes, that's right.
So it was like if you had asked your friends to vote for you, any one of those influences would have just destroyed everybody. So, you know what I mean? It's like it just so happens that I have the most friends who read that Shanghai.
Yeah.
So when I say like I was ahead, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's like, we all know Ian does comedy, and I don't know how many of those people had come to see me.
You've been like the face of.
Been plodding along, and I definitely earned the votes.
Yeah.
By reputation.
Yeah.
But like I say, I don't know how many people. I suppose I could. I've sold about 1,000 tickets
paid
to
your
my
dues.
show. I've done my headline show like 6 times since last year, so it's like every 2 months.
So that's
and sold out. So
from where you've come from, to that is.
So when
really
I looked at that, I was like, the people that deserve to win this award in no particular order is me. No, but and then Dawn, she did a national tour
Yes.
of China, right?
I saw
Which is
that
like
too.
a formidable accomplishment. Nora, who clearly sells the most tickets,
Yes.
and then
Is she on there, bud?
yeah, she was.
Okay. Okay.
And then Frankie, who I think, in terms of fastest growing, most likable people,
But
he
he-
does a lot of original material. He's really funny naturally.
But is the category just stand up or is?
Yeah, it's
'Cause
very
you-
much
you-
limited to
you-
English stand up.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't want to like poo-poo the award
Yeah. Yeah. There's
because
no,
it's completely valid in
Mm.
that it's like, well, this is the comedy that you can watch and pay money for, and that gets advertised. There's also a lot of Chinese comics,
yeah.
Chinese language comedy. It's weird to say that they're not comedians.
Yeah. Right.
Obviously, they don't do English. But there's a kid. His name's Dolson or Jason. He does Chinese comedy regularly, and then he just started doing like an English set.
Yeah.
Just
That's
kills.
brave. That's so
yeah,
brave.
yeah, and it's super super funny. It's about he's got a
Yeah.
joke about his cat getting pregnant in America and trying to get the cat an abortion, whatever. Like it's like
Yeah.
really really funny stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like there's like 50 comedians that good, and we just don't know who they are because
Yeah.
they only do Chinese.
Yeah.
So
and it's interesting. Like
I'll take the award for marketing purposes,
Come on. Yeah.
visa purposes.
Something on the resume.
But yeah, also Li Ying had a headline show, but she wasn't in town for the whole year. So I think if she had been in town a little earlier, her name would have been on there. So it's weird that she's not on the list. It's like
yeah, there was a few that
you can write them in, but it's like if you write in,
Oh yeah, right.
yeah. Well, I'm belittling my own achievements here, but yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
People were.
So it closed yesterday or today?
It closed September 1st at like midnight. I
Oh,
guess.
got it. Okay.
So.
Well, good luck. And
Yeah, I hope I get
all the
something.
royalty checks are gonna start rolling in now when you win that prize.
Like when you go to Japan or Taiwan to perform, they like it's not like here where you just get your stuff approved. You kind of need some
Something
kind
to
of
show.
credential.
Yeah,
So it's like a lot of people just hold a comedy competition
yeah,
and then they win it, or someone inside the like if Spicy had a competition and then was like, oh, the winner of the, and it's like, yeah, but it wasn't really fair. But you get to put it on a flyer. It helps move tickets. So
And it's the same with music and comedy as well. How do you judge who's the best? Is it the most popular, or is it the best musicians, or is it?
yeah, so you kind of, because I thought about writing an article going, hey, we're a new industry and it's wonderful that we're new, and everyone, I'm here to give everybody flowers, like MSG and Comedy Remedy and all these people that are fighting to keep it alive. But we're young, but it's funny because we have an ancient civilization of English comedy that went away, and now we have this new.
That's what I was going to say. Every time, I mean, I don't go every week, but I go sporadically, and I'm always sort of seeing like a new. You've got you've got the ones like yourself that have been there all the way through, but you're always filtering new.
Yeah.
So, is having those open mics important to do that, or?
Well, here's the problem was, so it's like we have all new. It's almost like we lost the technology and everyone's back to like square one. So Nora is very good when she has audiences at open mics. She used to come and do our open mics.
Yeah.
And a lot of her fans would come to see her. And she would educate the audience every single show. This is what comedy is. Don't be offended, whatever. Because her brand of comedy is very nice. So it's like, first we have to get the audience to be a cool comedy audience. That kind of went away because we had built a base of people who like comedy and they were like comedy literate. And then now we've got a lot of new comics and their only frame of reference is us.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
I used to be just the host and we had these murderers. Josh Ty, it's like Dewey Parker.
Yes.
Like the Steven, like the funniest
Ben
people.
Frank.
And back to back.
Yeah.
And they all left and everyone was like, oh, Ian's the old guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. But I actually like being the producer guy. the importance of open mics is great, but what we're missing is the carrot that you're working towards.
Right.
So Kung Fu Comedy Club and Shanghai Comedy Bunker
Yeah.
were like, well, there's international headliners coming. Can you get on that show and be the opener? You get to open for Kurt Metzger or Kyle Kinane or...
Is that still happening? Getting like international
It'll come.
headliners?
So when you're a junior comic, that stepping stone is like get onto a paid showcase, then be good enough to let like an international have you open for them. So right now we don't have the international element, so you don't learn from international comics.
Got it.
So
I was going through who you support for, and one was Tom Green. I remember going to that at Cages, right?
Yeah, I hosted it.
Yeah, that was a great show, and to have him come to Shanghai was amazing.
Yeah,
but that back room at the Cages.
Oh, were you in there with the?
Oh, it was in quite a bit.
There were
what happened there?
3 spaces.
Right.
There was the club, and then there was the main stage.
Yeah.
And then there was the football.
Yeah. That's where the
field.
Tom Green was, right?
So yeah, we did Tom Green there. There was Doug Stanhope was in there, and Bill Bailey, the British comedy. Bill Bailey was there.
Yes.
The famous heckle comic Steve Hofstetter, the redhead guy. He was like for a long time like the most famous guy dealing with hecklers.
Yeah, right.
And then who else? I think those were the main ones in there.
Before the...
And then Theo Von and Neil Brennan we did in the stage area. And then a lot of actual people there. Phil Jupitus.
So was it just a visa or permit issue or...
So Paulie and Barney started the Shanghai Comedy Club. The history of the split, it's old history. I don't want to get into that. It's not my story to tell.
Yes.
I just always wanted to help with comedies. So going way before that, Punchline Comedy was in Shanghai. How long have you been in China?
Shanghai, 2019, I arrived.
Yeah, so 2006, there was this group, all the way to 2015, I guess. Punchline Comedy Club would come to Shanghai. And it would be a guy called John Moorhead. He would bring in 4 good, really, really good comics, put on a show for expats. So that was my job at Zapatas and Theme Pub Company. So I don't know if you remember Zapatas. O'Malley's, Zapatas, they were this old school, big expat party bars and British pubs and stuff. So we'd have these entertainment. So my job was just in charge of all the entertainment. And the comedy was my favorite part.
Right.
So that guy, John, taught me everything about setting up, how he wanted it done. So he taught me how to set up a room and what to say to audience and get people ready for comedy.
Yeah. Because it's not just get up there and have comedians and then
he was very particular. So he would bring in all these comics. And then Turner Sparks and Andy and Paulie, and then they started Kung Fu Comedy Club in Paulie's bar, but that was local based expats,
right?
And they started developing local talent, which brought the cost down. So they would have one international come in, and then the locals would support. So then you'd only be paying for one ticket, one international guy.
Got it.
And that's when comedy blew up because we could do it every week. The locals would get good, wait for that international to come. Fight for an opportunity to get on that guy's show. And it's cool because then that international comedian, that's his memory for China. So when he goes back to home country, it's not he was in a Denver this weekend. His Asia trip was a big deal to him. So when you fly back to America, you're like, hey, it's me from Shanghai. And they're like, oh, I love this guy.
Yeah.
Now everyone will believe my story that I've been telling because I have someone to validate it.
Yes.
So that's what we need now is to start bringing internationals, and then the comics can go see him. All we have is Joe Wong.
Yeah, you were talking about 2016 when that started, but it says here that your first show was December 2015.
Yeah.
Who convinced you to do it? Was it hard convince or?
Well, see, when we stopped doing the Punchline stuff, I needed to be around comedy, and they had I knew Paulie from Marseille. I met him my second day in China. He was DJing at a hip hop party. I was going.
So that's your background, right? Just for...
I came here to DJ on like a 3-month contract.
Right.
And then they offered to renew my contract, and I was like, I'm not going to be a DJ. Like I want a job. So they made me the marketing manager.
Sorry. So when you were doing DJing, were you talking in between that?
No. No, I literally was like, in South Africa, there was like a gang that was hitting clubs and restaurants. Like, it was dangerous. And then I was like, I'm out. So I was consulting. I'd like worked in restaurants during university, and I moved to Cape Town, only DJ'd in Cape Town, came back to my hometown, and I wasn't working for any particular restaurant, but some people had like asked me to help them consult with openings and stuff.
Right.
And then they started hitting like restaurants and robbing them, and I was like, I don't want to be in this.
So what?
So I wanted to go on a cruise ship because I live in Durban. It's a port city. I was like, let me just try get on a cruise ship and DJ. Like,
yeah.
Because I've been doing events. A friend of mine and I put on these events, and it just unexpectedly, like the most money I ever made in one day. We planned for 400 people. 4,000 people came.
So just DJing, just you and your...
Yeah, like we did this reunion party from like a famous nightclub from when we were younger. And I was like, oh, I like events and stuff. So like, studying IT wasn't my priority anymore. But then my friend convinced me not to get on a cruise ship and told me to come to Taiwan. And then I did that for a month. And then they asked me if I want to move to Shanghai. Same company. It's called the Theme Pub Company. So they have like restaurants everywhere and bars and clubs. And it's all for expats living abroad. So when I came out, I just like, no, I don't want to DJ. That can't be my job.
Yeah.
So they made me charge marketing. And then I moved to Suzhou for a year as the general manager there for a year as the...
When? What year?
2008.
Oh, okay, that's why.
Yeah,
okay.
And after that, back to Shanghai, and then they opened in Guangzhou.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So Guangzhou is still Party Pier. That's the flagship now.
Okay.
That was the plan, was to just... It wasn't really to DJ. It was just to stay out of South Africa.
Yeah.
And survive. And then...
I mean, that's in your set
a
lot.
Yeah, so that... I have a joke about... being hired to be an African DJ, but that it's amalgamation of 3 stories,
right? Yeah,
that really happened. Like one night, it was at Muse. They asked me to come in and DJ. I DJ'd a night.
Wow.
And then they called me the next week and said, "Come back and DJ again." And I was like, "I haven't prepared any new set. Like, just play what you played." And when I got there, they gave me an MC to perform with. And I was like, I don't know this guy. We had no rehearsal. I don't know what.
Yeah, right.
And then after the gig, I was like in the VIP room, and this guy asked me where I was from, and I said South Africa, and the promoter just told me to get out.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what? And he said,
you heard me.
You're not, so just go to the bar.
Wow.
And then I was sat at the bar looking at the promotion material for the night, and it was another white guy and this guy were a duo. And apparently the guy got stopped at the border because he had a cold or something. Like he has a fever.
Yeah.
So they just put me in his place and put a cap on me and just pretended I was this part of a duo. And I was like, you could tell me that before I start playing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm fine with acting. And then the other one was when they wanted like a black guy. Like when you go to an event, they'll have like a whiskey promotion. It'll just be like, okay, so we're gonna put 2 like stands next to the DJ box with the branding. We're gonna have a guy DJing, and then I got like a picture of. So it was a picture of 50 Cent on the PPT,
right?
You know, so the manager is doing his checklist. He's like, okay, the 2 models are here, everything's here, and they're like, where's the DJ? And he's like staring at me and going, but no, where's the DJ? And then he's got his like, and it's like, it's a picture of 50 Cent, but they need something that resembles this. and he was just like, you can't be
Kind of
white
like a-
and be here.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't let me play hip hop. So he said you
What?
can play music, but you have to play house music or something.
Ah.
Something a white person would play. You can't play hip hop.
Bit of NC Hammer or something like that.
Yeah, so I played the gig, but the guy was like, I'm not getting paid. Like, clearly we got the wrong
Yeah.
the wrong guy.
Wow.
I didn't even think that was a joke. You know, like one day I think another performer was in the thing. I'm like, did you ever like have to pretend to be someone? And then I just told that story, and like people
In the sets that I've seen, and then you talk about South Africa, and there's so many things to talk about that because it's so different from China. And then when you've come here, you've married a Chinese, you've got a Chinese wife. So not only can the foreigners relate to it, the Chinese think it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, because they a lot of people said, oh, if you did the same jokes in Chinese, it would work.
Yes.
I didn't write it for like all those jokes are the old, they're kind of old. That's what I had. That was clean material that I could submit, and it passed. So yeah, I didn't write. That's my life story.
Yeah. And how we talked about this before, like how difficult is it to have a clean and like a little dirty, a few swear words?
So it's weird because in stand-up comedy in the West, you would say it's all freestyle, completely but jokes, it's not, you don't need to submit anything, but it's kind of like political talking points. Like a joke, once you figure out how to say it the right way, like poetic, it's like a song.
Yeah.
It's got like a structure.
Yeah.
So once you've figured out how to say it, you don't really change what you say.
Yeah.
It's like the way to get from this setup to this punchline, more or less, is always going to be exactly the same way. The logic works, whatever. So in that sense, it's like once you've figured out a joke, writing it down and submitting it is like submitting a finished song. That's not difficult.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to create that way. You know what I mean? Like with that in mind. So that's why you need free open mics to just riff it out.
Yeah.
And once you've said it enough times, then, okay, now I know how to say it. So when you start comedy, you normally say, like, the advice you give people is write clean. It's very easy to be dirty later. But if you start dirty, it's very difficult to change back to clean.
Yes.
It's, you know what I mean? It's like listening to like polka music after a metal band. You know what I mean? It's like they're both equally valid, but it's hard to go down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't have a difficulty writing clean, but for me it's like a mindset. So if I do commercial comedy, that's the way to play. And then if you're not in the commercial comedy space, I wouldn't say commercial comedy, it's China. Yeah. Commercial performance all gets like a checklist.
Right.
And it's like, what's the content? And then also what is the safety in the venue? You know, all those elements.
Yeah.
So it's not ideal to write into a script, but then you don't, like the way to do it is to just repeat it at open mics for free.
Yeah.
And then once I say you don't say what you write what you say. So when you submit something to the bureau for whatever, it's already finished.
Got it.
You don't like write an original piece and then be like, can I say this?
Yeah, yeah.
And then try for, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and rewrite it to.
So if you think about it from I'm not allowed to create, then of course that's a prohibitive way to do anything.
Yeah.
And anyone who does it that way is going to hate the system.
Yeah, yeah.
But don't do it that way. Like, go to a free open mic, get 20 friends together, tell the story over and over again, figure out how to say it. Yeah. When people laugh at it every single time, or 80% of the time, then submit it and then perform it.
Got it. How long did it take you to work it out?
Well, jokes are never finished.
Yeah.
Because like the funny idea is in your head, you say it.
Mm.
People laugh. When they laugh, you realize what they're laughing at. It's not always your idea. You know what I mean? They laugh at something different. I always say it's like striking oil, you know? So like if you drill in the wrong place, oil will come out, but not a lot.
Right.
And if you drill in the right place, it just bursts out.
Yeah.
And then that's usually what you're doing is like you have a funny idea. People will start to laugh on the way to the joke because like, oh, I can kind of feel what's happening. Yeah. When you hit that perfect spot, then the joke's like gushing out gold or oil, you know, and you're like, I've got the perfect angle, the perfect setup. But people will laugh for a long time close to the area. So if you listen to where they laugh, and then you listen to your recording later and you're like, oh, they're laughing because of this and this, then you jump on the thing they're laughing at.
Yeah.
And that explodes the laughter further. So, you know, when you hang out with your friends and then like someone screws up and then it's like you jump on the mistake and it's like ground and pound. As soon as that person goes down, you don't stop where they're laughing. It's not the original idea. It's like what made people laugh, and you just stay there.
Yeah.
Until you're gassed out, and then you move on. So,
and then riffing as well. If you've got them in the palm of your hands, do you keep with the same joke, or you continue the same topics? Or
I think killer comedy.
Yeah.
And I don't mean me. I mean just like when you watch killer comedy, it's like those black comics at the Apollo. Like just, They just say it over and over and over again, and then they do an act out, and then they change the point of view, but it's the same joke, and they just keep going until there's no laughter left, and then you move on. But first, you just have to set up that idea. So like, we all agree.
Yeah.
Usually, good comedy is like a fact.
Yeah.
Traffic is bad. You know, everyone agrees, and then you can hit them with jokes. But if people have an idea for a joke that's contentious, if we can't all agree what you just said, then the punchline's probably going to be offensive, you know, or not really offensive, just not funny. It's like, well, I'm not on board, so I can appreciate a joke that's offensive if it's true.
And what I like about you is when you're talking to the crowd, you're asking their names, and then you're getting to know the crowd. Is that something that you've learned over time, or is that just something that comes into it? At the start, I don't think you really did that. Or when I started watching you, you sort of just went bang, 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 bang. Or like, okay, this is what I got. Now it's more, you're much more confident. Yeah. And you can tell that there's, you've done this before, and
it's weird because there's what we call the free scene. And what that means is, I don't know if you've been to our comedy events, like the way to get into them, you have to register, you have to sign up, you have to be a friend of the group. So it's basically a private event.
Right.
And that's how we like work our stuff out. So like so there it's a relaxed space and I can talk. And I try to like message everybody like genuinely. I'm not like fake doing a private event. Like everyone messages, you get a link, welcome, we have a separate room.
Yeah.
So then it's easy to riff with people and talk to them. But on like a commercial show, it's like the host is trying to get the room to unite, and you turn the audience into like an audience.
Yeah.
So there's questions you ask, and sometimes it feels pretty mechanical, and they can tell.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, this person's just running through, like everybody makes some noise who's been overseas, but those are good techniques to get everyone united.
How do you pick who's going to be like the host of the night? Every time I go to one, there seems to be a different person. I thought you would just stick to the same one, but then
this is where the carrot of an international performer really helps.
Right.
Because there's people that are like, oh, I want to just do a set, or I want to be a host. Yeah. But there's nothing to work towards, so it's very hard to be motivated to get really, really good at one thing. I would say people that want to be a host, yeah, like when I was doing Comedy Corner all the time, was like, well, I want to do the setup. I like the production aspects of a show. I don't want to also host it. And then if I found someone who really wanted to host, so like a guy like Ben Frank would be like, well, hosting gets you more stage time, and
Got it.
But Ben was awesome because he had hours of material.
Yeah.
So even if no comedian signed up, as long as Ben was there,
Yeah.
I was like, well, I can have a full show. He'll be happy to keep going.
Got it.
But hosting it's like a skill you need to
Yes.
develop, and you can't do it once a month.
Yeah.
So everyone likes a good host because it makes the show better. If someone's, oh, I want to be the host, and then it's like, well, we all have to suffer while you practice. But you have to, otherwise you don't get better. But comedy is one of these things where it's like you go to an open mic. It's like going to the gym and exercising for 5 minutes twice a week.
Yeah.
And everyone before you is using the machine wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the notion of an open mic is it's brand new and you have to be allowed to suck.
Yeah.
But what about the guy that has to go after you?
Yeah. That's right.
You know? And it's like, well, this guy just, tried like the most offensive joke. And the host in between me and that guy is also practicing.
Yeah.
And he's not resetting the room in a way. So it's just like, oh man.
You got to start off on the bang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I used to do at Comedy Corner while I was setting up the room, new comedians that were interested, I'd say, come help me set up. And then they'd want to move chairs. And I'd be like, no. Just go stand on the stage and talk to me.
Okay.
So I could test the levels. Yeah. But then they could practice standing on a stage with lights in their eyes, just talking.
Got it.
I was very Mr. Miyagi about it. Like, you don't know that you're learning how to be natural.
Yes.
But it's like now you're just talking on a mic and you're... So Frankie's my greatest achievement in terms of that.
Right.
Because Frankie's an incredible example of someone who models behavior. He got into comedy. He's like, I want to do this. And he's been in the music industry and stuff. So he knows his way around the industry. Right. But he's like, who's doing well? How do I do that? And I was just like, just be natural. And then, when you're thinking about doing comedy, it's like, oh, I get to stand on the stage, even in an empty room. Yeah. Lights on, full volume. And being deaf, I preferred having a person talk into the mic than have them like follow me around the room while I was setting up. Yes. And it just worked out well. And I was like, oh, that's actually very cool. It's a cool way. Like if you're a new comedian, and this advice I'd say applies anywhere in the world, is like, if you want to get into comedy, find the showrunner, ask if you can help set up. And then just spend time with them. And then they'll be like, oh, can you go test the mic? Now you've got, and then sometimes you just go do the announcements. Yeah. So you're not performing, you're not asking to perform, but you're like, can I go on stage and be like, hey guys, it's 3 minutes till we start. Please put your phones away. Now I've learned how to command attention. Yeah. Stand up there and be like, we're not beginning until, then you get into the, let's get our host. Can I bring the host up?
Yeah. Away you go.
We finally got back to your question.
Yeah, but it's true.
In 2015, my friends, because I would go help set up the rooms and stuff. It's like my therapy. I just like plugging things in and shows. My friends would say, oh, can you go tell everyone we'll start in 5 minutes? Yeah. And then I would start taking liberties. Like, look at this guy. He's not gonna be ready in 5 minutes. He's gonna take pictures of his girlfriend, And then Barney would be like, "Hey, just do the announcement." And then he'd be like, "Listen, dude, if you want to get on stage, you're gonna have to do a mic."
Yeah, right.
And I promised him before the end of the year. So I say December 15 because December 30th was like the New Year's resolution.
Oh, right. Yes.
So one day before the end of the year, I got on, and I was so drunk.
Do you still have it recorded, or did you?
I don't have that recording.
Okay.
But I have almost every recording. So I used to do that. Like I would go to comedy and I'd say I always buy gear, and I needed to film something, so I'd film everyone. So just by default, all those people left, and now I have like everything you need to set up a mic, and I don't want to always organize them.
There you go. And it's interesting what you say about the open mics as well. I've seen two of the best. Jimmy Fallon, I went and saw him in New York, and we were the first people to go in. So he just come out in shorts, t-shirt. He said, right, I've got 10 pages of jokes. You give me the thumbs up and laugh if it's good.
Yeah.
If it's no good, I'm just going to scrap it. Okay? You're the judge for tonight's jokes, or the starter.
Yeah.
The host, just like you said. And one person laughed. He went, scrap it, and just threw it away. Next one, oh, yep, good one. Yep, keep that one. We'll do that one tonight. No, that sucked. And he was just going through them until he finished them all. And that's how you educate an audience of what's actually happening. Yeah.
When you go to a mic and this is the problem with not having, again, like the goal up there, the high, the aspiration is that open mic becomes your only opportunity to perform when it should actually just be a testing ground.
Yeah.
So now the few of us that are fortunate enough to go spicy and we have a theater that we can perform in, and so it really is that Pareto's principle that like a few get all the opportunities, and it really sucks.
Yeah.
But so we need more clubs so people can get on a page. There's something different about an audience that buys a ticket. Like they want to laugh. Like a free show. It's just like, I always say I value their time. Like we're really cool, but
because I think,
what you're really doing is like, these are jokes. Some of them are bad. I'm going to say them and you're going to judge. Yes. And people are like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And I always like it if you have a list, because then they like, okay, there's an end to it. So people can relax. And then it's always funny when you say like, and then you unfold like 4 extra pages. But it's like,
well, even Joe Wong was the same. I saw him at a open mic. He just randomly showed up and said, hey, I'm in Shanghai. I've got a bunch of new jokes that I want to try out. And he did his jokes. And then the next person went up. He did one joke and then he walked off. He said, this sucks. This is not me. I'm not a comedian. So I go to one extreme to the other.
Because I don't know if you came to my work in progress show.
I don't.
I think you were there, because I can always see your face in my mind's eye. It was right at the end of the show. I did a joke about reparations, and I was like, I don't know if you guys are the right audience for this. And it's such the joke is like, we need to make a cryptocurrency that goes up in value every time someone's racist. Right. You know what I mean? So it's like, we can't pay reparations, but this cryptocurrency, the more racism there is, the more rich people will get. Right. So it's a dumb premise. And then the joke was, what do we call it? Yeah. I'm not even going to say it. But so I was like, I said to the audience, like, do you want me to tell this? And they were like, tell it. And then there was one black guy in the audience. Everyone stared at him like, he laughed. And I was like, dude, I need you right now. And then it bombed. And it was like the show had gone well, but I was like, let me just try it. Yeah. The next day, 5 people I care about, like their opinion, text me going, that was the best joke.
Yeah, right.
But I couldn't laugh.
Oh, yeah.
Like, okay. And then you're just like, okay, well, fair enough. And
because how do you react to that then? They couldn't laugh. Isn't that what it's all about? Or
there's a thing about creating an environment that gives people permission to laugh. Yeah. Right.
Your choice. Yeah.
Very often we forget to do that when we set, in a highly comedy literate audience. It's a no-brainer. You can do that joke. So the fact that I was like, I don't know if I should try it. The point I was making, everybody wants you to try it.
Yeah.
if you ask them, they'll be like, do it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's not going to be no one that says no. to it.
Magicians can't do that because they might actually cut someone in half. But in comedy, they're like, well, what's the worst that could happen?
Oh, yeah.
And I stand by the joke. It's a really good joke. But
Is it still in your set?
well, if I go outside of China, yeah.
Okay.
It's just because it's too... People don't really understand... I mean, it's not even really my joke to tell. I tell it like as a person who's not from that country.
Right. Yep.
I have a much more neutral, non-emotional approach. And I'd like to say it if you would hear it.
Yes.
So, and then... Yeah, I feel like that's fair enough. But being South African, there's like a weight of our history of racism that's like... Yes. Maybe if a Swiss person told that joke,
yes.
it would be received a little better. But
that's what I love about the Chinese when they're speaking in English as well. They just go to town on the Chinese, and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that.
That's a problem, you know. I found that in English comedy, a lot of locals will use English as a way to express themselves that they can't. And sometimes they're like, oh, this is so liberating. And then they go nuts. And you're like, hey, we translate the law into English. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same law.
Yes.
And, yeah, very often, like, people will look at us and be like, oh, that foreigner is the reason they've been polluting the minds. We're like, no, these kids got some angry parents they want to yell about, you know?
Yes. You were only doing that as a hobby. Did you still have other work there?
So the whole time I worked in some form of entertainment. Yeah. So I worked for a theme pub company, primarily Zapatas, which I left them in 2016. And I worked for Barbarossa Group, and so they had musicians and stuff. So with them, I was like, just usually the same kind of thing was like entertainment and then helping with their foreign marketing and all that sort of stuff. But in 2018, we decided we were going to start this comedy company and bring out international acts and stuff. So I like downsized literally like the minimum I could do to keep a job and have a visa. And my boss was like really cool. He's like, yeah, as long as everything's running smoothly, I'd set it up so I could do it as remote as possible. And then just went all in on comedy. But then was like a year, basically took a year off making any money and like living on savings. Yeah. And then just trying to get these internationals and do those China tours and going around with those guys. And then in 2019, I was like, all right, we're not quite there yet. I'll start working again. And then COVID came. So it was like end of 2019, all of 2019, it was like almost like a year off. And then COVID came and it was like all entertainment had shut down. Yeah. All that work that I'd had, like bringing musicians, like most of them went home for Christmas. Yeah. So it's like the roster that I was working with, like didn't even come back. Yeah. And you know, like one guy's all his equipment was in Calix, like just. So
you stayed all the way through it here in Shanghai?
Yeah. Luckily, my wife lives here, and she's not like.
How was that for you? I mean, everyone's got a different story about the COVID, and
it was just a matter of waiting till entertainment was allowed back. So because it's culture and tourism, so the bureau. So when the borders were closed, the culture bureau was essentially closed as well for foreigners. So they could renew the permits of the people who were here. Right. But any international was out of the question. Yep. So I just sat on my hands.
So were you writing at that stage or was it difficult to write it in that period?
This was my favorite part of COVID, is that I had the Comedy Corner room and inside of China was open. So we were doing 2 shows. You must have remembered Park Tavern and Real Shanghai. We'd have 2 shows on Friday and 1 on Saturday every week. and everybody was just getting better and better and
Yeah.
better at comedy while the whole world was shut down. We had like a 50-seat room, and we could only put 30 in it, so we just did 2 shows. So we doubled the amount of comedy we're doing. Everybody got so much better.
Yeah.
Like, so much better. But then when COVID ended, they all left, and Ben just did his special.
Yeah.
Dewey just won funniest comedian in
Yes.
Winnipeg.
Oh, wow.
You know, like Erica got out right away. She won a few. She's back and forth, Chicago and LA. And then, yeah, so it's like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
When you have people were that good. Yeah, the comedy got better and repetition and all that, but it didn't grow. So we got more and more and more and more comedians like occupying one group. And then now we had like 100 open micers
Yeah.
with an open mic every day, but like the lineups are just filled. 20 people sign up, you're on a wait list. Some point there were like 36 people signing up, and some of them went on to do Chinese comedy. And when Spicy, when it opened up,
That's what I want to talk about.
Nora Young and her husband Kwan Kwan, Laughing. His English name is Laughing, which is the best English name for a comedy club owner. They were adamant that they were going to get foreigners onto their shows. So all through the pandemic, they were doing shows, but only with locals on them.
Right.
And then in order to get a visa, you need a fixed venue. You know what I mean? Like, so you need like a place of work.
Got it. Yeah.
Even though, like, if you're a performer on a commercial performance visa, it's the one visa you're allowed to go work for another performance company as long as they give you a release letter saying you're allowed to perform. So all I needed was like a fixed location. So when they opened the club, that was like in May.
All right.
Or it was supposed to open in April. In May, they opened the club. And then in June, I handed in my notice at work. Like,
so did you get approached before it was
oh,
open?
it was a
Done
foregone
deal?
conclusion. Yeah.
All right.
So all the comics, it was actually just Dewey, myself, Simon, Adam Hamilton, Jorge, like a few that were friends of Nora's that were asked, if they want to get on some shows. But, those are people that they have their lives. I was already invested in comedy.
Yeah.
But our thing, which was big internationals, like that sort of fell away. And then Nora always wanted to do it like legit. Like the old days, it was like pre-2017, it was like, so let expats do what they do.
Yeah.
And like, but for locals to do it legit, it was like follow the letter of the law, and like every aspect, get it done. And of course, she's so huge.
Yeah.
She's like 11. I don't know how many.
Shocked. I didn't realize how popular she was until you.
So yeah, they opened this venue, and now we had a home base that you can actually. It's got all its licenses and everything. I can actually apply. So to be the first foreigner to get a comedy visa is only impressive in that I was willing to sacrifice the money to get the visa to start the process that other people can do it.
That was such a long time coming, buddy.
Yeah, but it only happened, and it could easily happen if you have a venue. If the Culture Bureau approves the performance, then immigration will give you a visa to perform.
Got it.
Right? So it's just to say it was difficult. It's not that difficult. Having enough material that's clean and China friendly is hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I suppose I'll take credit, but I'd done so many visas for musicians for my work. Like I knew the process.
That's a tough gig.
Yeah.
I've seen HR at school, and my God,
Well, we had an agency, but I'm
even still
very familiar with the material required.
Got it.
What was funny in Hong Kong, I have a performance license, and it says talk show actor on it in Chinese. 脱口秀演员.
Wow.
So I get to Hong Kong, and all my documents, everything's pristine, ready to go, and every window was like, talk show actor, 1 minute, and then they would walk off, and I'm like, it's real, dude, come on. I just never seen it.
Yeah, right.
Because it's the first one, but like it's a legitimate thing, and then it's on the website. Like every license has a QR code. I'm like, it's real, it's real. But what happened was I got it on Thursday. It was issued on Thursday, and I flew out on Friday. For Spicy, it was their first time doing all this stuff. So they were learning what they have to do, because they went from being using an agent to now fully in-house doing it. But the good news is the second comic is about to apply for a visa. So.
Oh, who is that?
His name's Caleb. He's
Oh,
new.
yes.
Yeah, you've seen him,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Just going back to it, I remember when you posted that on Facebook or even WeChat, I've made it. Got the visa. I can now say that I've fully professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How to make your friends proud and your parents disappointed.
Yeah. Finally.
Yeah. It's wild, man, because like
It's
I say,
amazing achievement.
if there's more foreigners than those districts that have never encountered it, once it's normalized, it's like, okay.
Could that be like a specific business then if you get to the 10, or you could start your own?
Well, it's just, you know what I mean? Like once it becomes comedy is such a cheap entertainment thing. You just need a microphone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's safe. And so like my dream is we have to use clean comedians,
Right.
but there's millions of them, and they often they're doing like, in America, they're just not millions, but like Dry Bar Comedy is a famous brand that's based in Utah. So it's like a Christian, clean comedy, sober.
Right.
And it's just, people want wholesome content.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they could make a killing in China because their stuff will clear.
Yeah.
And there's this English learning market. So it's just a matter of creating the framework and then getting each city to accept the foreign actor to come in. So yeah, it's like 1 isn't enough, 2 is better, 5 is better. But having one club that doesn't have the staff to put on 10 shows, how are you going to grow? You can't.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you did get those 10, you could jump on tours, you could go to Japan, or even just around China.
So yeah, right now what Spice is trying to do is build a tour circuit. So we did South China first.
Yeah, so you did Shenzhen and Guangzhou.
Yeah, so Spicy All Stars was 5 of us. Yeah. 2 of them are Frankie's from Hong Kong, and Adam he's like a TikTok. He's got like 4 million followers, and he has a lot of Cantonese stuff. It was insane, like watching him go out. He's like, people that never get to see. When do you get to see a TikTok star live?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That it's starting to happen more and more in like the States. Comedians hate it. They're like, oh, he's a TikTok comic, whatever. But like,
that's what they're looking for. But
in the States, you've got. It's like 100 years of stand-up tradition, and then this modern element is sort of infiltrating it. Good American comics don't feel threatened by it. They go, I'd rather be in a sold-out room than an empty one.
Yeah.
And if the TikTok guy comes in and everyone enjoys my comedy, I get more exposure.
Yeah.
I got trolled, dude. I was on that tour. Everyone came to see their favorite online personalities, and I was the native speaker.
I didn't understand your message there. You said Guangzhou was great, but I didn't sleep, and then Shenzhen. Let's not talk about the second show or something like that.
Because I'm just a native speaker. Yeah. I'm not famous at all. I have no online presence because I got my visa. I got to renew it, and it's like
So what set are you then bringing in if nobody knows you down in the south?
The same set.
Yeah.
It kills.
Yeah.
But they don't know who I am, so I'm not important.
Right.
They're like, oh, that white guy was funny.
Yeah.
Or the native speaker spoke too fast and I didn't understand him.
Yeah.
And then I get excited. In Shanghai, it's easy to speak at my normal speed. But when I started doing shows with Chinese people, I would slow down and change your pace. And so many new jokes come out of that. Just changing your cadence and your rhythm.
Got it. Yeah.
And also, I always tell people who come into China, like, the explanation is an opportunity to write new jokes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a goofy explanation, like, I don't want to like riff on one, but it's like, what's a dumb way to describe the Titanic?
Right.
Like the movie The Titanic.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's like a movie where everyone dies. All the men die and women only care about the woman. You know? So it's like, it's a quick explanation for context, and the people who already know what the thing is get a laugh out of it, and then we can move on.
Right.
So you just do your set slower, you know. So a 1 hour show in a Chinese English speaking audience is like 45 minutes of material slowed down to an hour.
Yeah, right.
But if it was all native speakers, it would be like an hour 20's worth of material.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
You know.
Because I see with the spicy comedy in Shanghai, they have like from 4 to 6 is the Chinese set, and then from 7 till 9 is the English set.
Yeah, and then there's Shanghainese.
Yeah.
They're crushing it. So if we can get the tour set up, then we need to build a home and away team. We'll have like 5 comics that can perform at home, and then the others can perform on the road.
Got it.
But for me, hot take, English comedy, all performance that gets moderated, right? So it's like they're going to send people to check everything's safe, that people have their rights. It's like schools get audited. Because it's English content, they need auditors that can understand the show. So if there were 20 comedy clubs doing English commercial performances, they would need to hire English moderators. So all the Chinese clubs get, inspected once in a while. But if they don't have enough resources to moderate the stuff, then they might say, hey, we can only do 2 shows a month. So in those smaller towns, they don't have the international staff to handle maybe like an 90-minute English show every month.
Yeah.
So they like Shakespeare, like high-level stuff. And then we're coming in with, you ever try to use a public toilet when
dick jokes.
I really want to... I'd love to meet the moderators of comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Who
are they?
Well, you're not really allowed to know. I mean, just in general, like every department's sort of faceless. Otherwise, they're open to corruption. But like the jokes that got cut, I would just love to know if they're laughing.
Yeah.
I want to interview one of those people so bad. I mean, like, what's the funniest joke you had to cut?
Yes.
Because I had one about...
is there any of your gold material got cut?
My favorite joke, it's so gross. It's about checking the toilet seat. I've told you. And then so it's like the woman doesn't know she's pregnant. So they allowed that whole joke right up until the part where...
So they said you can only go until that...
Yeah, like the last part is my friend wasn't pregnant.
The punchline.
She just shit on a baby. And they were like... Yeah, you can't shit on a baby. Everything else is fine. And I'm like, well...
okay.
There's a lot of funny all the way to that point. But it's like, I can't tell that joke.
You can't.
It's funny because a lot of jokes, I have removed elements and retooled them. But now I forgot that original punchline. Like, oh, shit. Yeah, that was way better. So I've got to go to Thailand and like... just
let loose.
Yeah. Japan and Thailand have been asking me to go, but
all right. So just a matter of time now to sort of organize.
Yeah, there's a comedy festival at the Tokyo Comedy Bar now.
Oh yeah, right.
And JJ Walkrat, he was the weatherman in Shanghai. his wife's Japanese or studied in Japan, so they're based in Tokyo, and he just took over operations of the club. He's such a good. He was like, I think like 1 or 2 years, just a little bit ahead of me in comedy. And when you in comedy, it's like better to don't look at your heroes. Like their stuff's edited. It's you're looking at a finished product. Like look at the guy ahead of you, like and try see what he's doing to get ahead. And he was that guy for me. So I was like, he came back to Shanghai once, like visiting, and we had a show for him. And I was like, I have to murder on the show. Like I was just, my entire intention was to impress JJ. And it was the first time I ever did well. And what I mean by well is like, we think we're funny, and then you hear an audience make a different sound. It's like watching a porn star have sex with your girlfriend. You're like, what? I should say, let's do another one. It's like watching Eric Clapton play your guitar.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean?
Fair
and
play.
You're just like, I didn't know it made that
I
noise.
can't do that.
And then you're like,
fair play.
Oh, whatever I've been doing isn't really making an audience laugh. There was that guy, Simeon. Did you see Simeon Goodson?
Simeon.
New York comic. He was based in Wuxi.
Oh, maybe not. I can't remember.
He came into town. He was like on Comedy Central, and we all thought we were funny. And then he would just get on stage and people were like falling off their chairs.
Wow.
And he was based in Wuxi with his wife.
Why? Why were they falling off the chair? Like
just dying laughing, man. It was so funny.
All right.
He actually gave me permission to release his, because we filmed a 1 hour show for him before he left, and he said I could post it online. But yeah, it was just, and then that's when you realize, like when people are laughing at this level, that's international standard. It's hard here because it's like people are smart.
It's a hard.
You can watch intellectual comedy like Patton Oswalt or just like smart guys, and no one's like dying laughing. They but you got your money's worth. Then you go watch a guy like Patrice O'Neill or Corey Holcomb, someone who's alive still. I don't know if you heard of Corey Holcomb, but that guy has like offensive and like howling laughing kind of material. And it's the same genre of entertainment, but like a completely different response. So it's hard to watch a guy like Simeon in Shanghai and then be like, I'm not that. And then a lot of people try to be that. And it's like, no, you're funny in a different way, which is like someone thinks you're, funny in a different ways. There's many versions of that compliment that don't feel like a compliment.
But I think that if you can nail the Chinese audience, I mean, that's a tough crowd. Second language, you can't go over the top with your material. But in the defense, the rules that are like sort of imposed in movies, everything, it's about PG-13. So like Oppenheimer's got edited, like a woman's got her clothes put on her, and so it actually does reflect the moral level that the community is at. They generally just, like, if people complain about something, they'll be like, hey, we've got a few complaints about this material. Don't, you know what I mean? So the guideline isn't set by some arbitrary person, although it might feel like it's enforced that way. But it generally is a conservative audience. They don't like laughing at dark jokes. They don't like disrespecting parents. It's not. It's just taboo to talk like that. So you got to sort of decide. Obviously, there's nutters everywhere that would enjoy all kinds of stuff. You just have to look at any comment section on the internet. You're like, these are my people. So like but they do laugh like crazy. It's just the pacing has to slow down a bit. Got it.
If you go watch a Chinese comedy show, like the good ones, murdering. They're really, really good.
Right.
You just don't see it.
Because they know the demographic.
Yeah.
And it would be interesting. I'd actually like to hear recordings of you in Japan as well, because going from music, I've seen music there, and I said it in the last podcast, but it just blows me away. Like Queen, the band Queen, I saw them play. They would clap, they'd stop, and then dead silence. So it'd be interesting to see how like a foreign comedian would go into Japan.
But I think it's very much still an expat, like Thailand, and like it's still very much like a expat friendly community.
Right?
I know there's like military bases in Japan that has one guy, Buck, used to run a show on the base. You know, so I don't know how much of it is locals. I would expect if you go to see Queen, it would be like
it's very respectful.
I had recently just got back into watching the Rolling Stones, listening to Rolling Stones, and I was thinking like, I should really see them before they die. It's just like, it's like you know what I mean? Like, it's like a bucket list thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I would, but just to go see it. So I feel like maybe in Japan, like you hear about Queen and they come and they're like, I'm gonna go watch this like Cats on Broadway. Like I've heard about it and it's incredible, but like I'm not like a Beatlemania fan.
Yeah. Like
who's yours, Beatles or Stones?
Oh, that's
as a musician.
Oh, I'd want to go and see the Beatles if they were all alive. If Lennon was alive, definitely.
Oh, okay, Beatles, Stones, but just the classic hits.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if they'll make it. I don't know if they'll make it another. But they got fined pretty badly because they played Brown Sugar and they weren't supposed to.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah.
But I was thinking, the Stones are like Jordan, LeBron James. Like the Rolling Stones are the LeBron James because they're still playing, and it's like,
yeah. Well, how are you going to pull the Stones off? You know, they're here, one of the biggest bands in the world. So you're not going to go, okay, guys, you played Brown Sugar, off you go.
Yeah. Well, it will affect your. I mean, Bieber got rejected from China because he
too many.
No, he was
raunchy.
He got drunk and had a drunk driving thing.
Oh,
I think
because Taylor Swift's been here, right?
Has she?
I don't know. I can't.
Yeah, it's crazy. Sure. Kanye West gonna go to Hainan.
Yeah, right.
I heard. Yeah.
Well, they're slowly starting to come back. That's good. They need.
Who's your favorite international comedian?
The last one I saw was Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you think he's your favorite?
The one that I come out nearly crying was Dana Carvey, the Wayne and Garth.
Yeah.
I saw him in Las Vegas do his show. I was in tears. Like
laughing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
yeah, laughing. I'd never heard his full set. Like I'd seen him on Saturday Night Live. I'd seen him in the movies, and he didn't do much material from the movies.
Yeah.
But he was impersonating all the
like everyone today would only know him as Joe Biden's like, on SNL.
Obama and Schwarzenegger and hilarious.
The classics.
Yeah. So off the top of my head, I would say him.
Wow.
Dana Carvey.
That's funny because most, I think, pure stand-up comedians wouldn't consider him as stand-up. Same as like Jimmy Fallon. Like they're TV.
Yeah, personality. Film, movie stars.
It's sad because a lot of those guys, like David Letterman and Jay Leno, they got on, like, they were rated as the best of the best. Like, there's no one better than these guys. And then they just became these TV guys, and you're like, oh, they never really had a stand-up career.
But was Jimmy Fallon ever one? I'd never seen it.
Well, he was doing, like, musical impersonation comedy.
Was it good?
Apparently. Well, I'm good enough to get onto SNL and, you know.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you have to be good. Yeah, getting back to the spicy comedy. Every time I see it posted on WeChat, it's capacity, almost sold out.
When it's Nora.
Oh,
Frankie's show, because it's basically we do videos, and then people book. Like there's very little like promotional marketing right now for my show. We're trying to make it easier for foreigners to buy, so we're going to use the UPay platform.
Right.
But the mini app that we had is only in Chinese, and then like it's prohibitive a little bit. Like people don't like to have to ask a friend to go to like to help them do things.
Yeah, I hate that.
And then when you want to do English comedy, my thing about when I moved here was to work in these expat bars to basically create a Chinatown for foreigners, you know, like a place where they could feel at home, because it's exhausting translating everything all day, whatever, you know, like you've heard of a China Day where everything goes wrong for no reason, you know.
Yeah.
And so like you give people a sanctuary where they can just relax and turn their brain off for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just like, oh, it's really mean to like, oh, to pass this level, you have to purchase a ticket. And then sometimes a host will ask a foreigner how their Chinese is and start asking them to speak in Chinese in front of a room full of Chinese people.
Yeah,
and they don't want to do that.
Right.
I think it's pretty mean. So I was like, yeah, let's just give people a break. Like when I see an English comedy show, I expect a very, very high level of English, and I can go somewhere and just relax into it. But if, you know, there's Chinatowns all over the world.
Yes.
And no one has a problem with them. They like them. And you can go in there, experience China, and then leave. And then the same way people come to a little English show.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, that was fun. Westerners are weird. Huh?
Because they're all looking for it. The foreign. Well, I am anyway. I love going to like LA, go and see my mate, and then if he's working or something, then I'm by myself. I'm going to find a comedy.
Yeah.
Comedy or some.
I love that you're a fan.
Yeah.
So for Nora's fans, they love her, and we're just an added bonus, which is cool. But like, if you've got 10 years, we worked it out. It would take like 11 years for all her fans to see us if we sold out every single show.
Right.
So they come watch her when they're in town, and she just posts, I don't know, like so many videos over and over and over again. She's very, very good at crowd work. She's the least hacky comedian I know of. And when I say that, it's like a lot of us, we talk about our lives, and it's like, well, the situation's pretty much the same, right? Like, you can't really, there's a lot of people, things are different, foods, you know, like,
yeah.
But when Nora talks to the audience, she just asks you like directly about your day. There's no tropes at all in her interactions. So people actually like it. Yeah. And we have a hard time. Firstly, we can't post our jokes. We can't really burn them. So she gets to host and do that. That's why everyone loves her. They come to see her. You can watch her every week. It's not going to be repeated because the comedy's created by the audience.
Yeah.
Frankie's very good at that too.
And like, that takes a talent too.
Yeah. Like to be completely present.
Yeah.
To just ask the next question and
have a joke or something. Yeah.
Just trust that the comedy is going to come.
Yeah.
I cannot do that. I'm like a planner.
But I've seen you do that before.
Sure, if it's low stakes, right. But I like to plan things, plug them in, test them, make it work.
Got it.
If I have a new joke, I'll like have it on the back burner for months.
Right.
And then Frankie now, like he's just like, just go say the thing, do it, and you're like, oh.
But I haven't just seen you at Spice. I saw you one time at a barbershop, and that's the cool thing that I like about the little group that you've got here in Shanghai at the moment, the comedians, is that, I'm putting on a show here. Can you guys do a set? Yeah, no problem.
Sure. Contractually, I can only do commercial stuff with Spicy.
Okay.
But I mean, if they're fine with, because your visa's attached to them,
right?
Like, I'm the only one with that problem.
Got it.
Like, because my job is that. So if I go do a show, I can't pretend.
You can't be on the bill saying...
Yeah, because it's basically... Then that show is like, you're using a famous person, which I'm not. So we do it like Zhou Wang will come and it's just like everyone will take a stage if the stage time's there. That barbershop show is my favorite room.
Yeah?
Yeah. Give me 25 people and...
Of all the places in Shanghai,
Yeah.
I just thought that it was the name, a random name for
Yeah.
a club. It's actually a barbershop. It's actually
Yeah.
a barbershop.
Well, we should say it's not like a show that people can buy tickets to and go. It's like if you're like get in the groups,
Yes.
like the comedy groups, and we will put on a comedy night where whoever will have us, like doing it in that environment is like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah.
It's like it's dark. It's like, oh,
Yes.
something nice about a barbershop. I don't know if this sounds sexist, but it's like a place for dudes.
Yeah.
It's like the only place.
Barber is the men's haircut, right?
They literally have a sign, no woman past this point. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't said that.
Or no wives.
Oh, no.
It says no wives. Yeah. And I was just like, well,
Has anybody had a haircut there that you've seen? Actually,
I've been thinking about doing one.
Yeah.
But I bought this hat instead. So
that'd be so random. I want to talk about roasting now. It seems like a tradition now that if someone is leaving
Yeah.
the country, they'll roast you the day before you leave or a couple of days before.
yeah, I did one roast.
What do you think about that? I've seen a few people that have gone on there and they have and they go, oh yeah, that's...
Yeah, it's
A
weird
little-
because there's two types of roasts. There's the tribute type and then there's roast battles.
Yeah.
So like we do a lot of tribute style roasts. What's funny is like the audience needs to know who the person is.
Yeah.
If you don't know the people, it's very difficult. It's just like, oh, these people are just being mean to each other. Because like a really good roast has sound effects and multiple microphones and things like
got
that.
it.
So I'm almost never on them if I'm trying to organize them, because then I'll happily bring all my toys and give people multiple mics and get the horn and the punching sound effects.
Got it.
Like, I don't know who I can train to do that so we can have a
tough.
fun roast and I
Yeah.
can be on it.
And then how
But
much...
secretly, I'll also avoid the jokes. And I'll be like, I'll
Yes.
make the salad, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's... So, because Lily spoke about this. It's a great joke writing exercise. Like,
talking to Lily, she gets hammered, absolutely hammered. Like the rest of the comedians when she's on there, sometimes I just want to go over there and just give her a hug, and it's like I don't give a shit. I don't care. They're my friends or whatever.
I always remember seeing Lily hang out with people, and she has a superstar quality about her. And I've said this to her face. She doesn't know how to control it, manage it, or anything, but she also doesn't know how likable she is. That's why everyone comes at her. So at a roast, if everyone's jumping on you, it's actually a pretty good sign.
It is
that you've got something that is
spot on.
Yeah, and
Yep, I agree.
I would, love to see her do better, but she doesn't listen.
That's the thing. I was with a friend and we were at that roast, and then the only thing that my friend could remember was her.
Yeah.
So whether she got absolutely hammered
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that was the only one that.
Yeah, it's because I remember the last time I did like a tribute roast, I had quit drinking, and then the only thing people could roast me about was my alcoholism. And then they were like, well,
Boom.
he used to drink. And I'm like, well, that's not really an insult.
Yeah, that's not funny. Yeah.
So,
Well, the other one that I wanted to talk about was the Gong Show, and you hosted it. And
I love it.
I went to two of them. Out of all of them, like the roasting and the improv, and I mean, you can go see them all the time. That was one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
Is it because the people don't want to do it because they got brutally hammered? Like you can set it up 3 judges.
Yeah, it's unfair because a lot of the audience don't want to be mean.
Yeah.
I will say it over and again. Chinese audience are the nicest people. They don't laugh at pain. So it's like we desperately want to make jokes about painful things, and they literally look at you like, "Oh my god, that's terrible."
But even I was shocked as well. It was like,
but then you beg them to be mean.
yeah,
Like they all have it ready to go, but they're just polite. And then when you say like, "Guys, please, like for the show to work,
yeah,
you have to," And then invariably the next guy just gets his head cut off because you've asked them to do it. There's no good time to plead with them to be brutal because half the fun of the show is to be brutal.
That one is one that I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I was just like, I want more. Like, and for people that haven't seen it, they've got 1 minute to go up there and do as many jokes as you can. You've got the harsh judge that'll just rip into you. You've got the one that's sitting on the fence. You did this, you could have done this. And then you got one that's...
Usually it's just who's in a bad enough mood to want to do it. But it's... Oh, man, it's such a fun idea. And then Viola Jung came third at the London one.
Oh, right.
There's like the London Comedy Store. And then Elvin, if you remember Elvin, he's changed his comedy name to Jiao Wei Liu now. He's going by his Chinese name. He won it.
Right.
And also Maple... I don't know if you remember Maple.
Yeah.
She did quite well on it as well.
I liked her. She was good. She was a good comedian.
So to do the London Comedy Store Gong Show.
Yeah, that's impressive.
That really, really hurts.
Yeah.
But and to win it, it's just so Elvin's doing really well.
Yeah. But how much is that improv and how much is that stage? Because again, to be a judge and then have 1 minute to, they're telling all the jokes and then you've got to, on the spot as a judge, go, oh, that sucked. This was bad. This was really terrible.
Did you see our 60 Seconds to Kill show?
Yeah, that's the one that I'm talking about. Yeah.
Oh, that was hard. Yeah, that's based on Kill Tony.
Oh, right.
So that wasn't really a gong show. It's just 60 seconds.
Yeah, 60 seconds.
Yeah.
The three judges.
Yeah, it's very cool because you're forcing comedians to compact as many jokes into 60. It's a great joke writing exercise.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And then some of them would have one joke that would run out of time and then others would try and fit as many jokes in as they can and then they would bomb and then so it was very
Frankie loved that and you know who was good at it was Dan. He wasn't a comedian, but the guy who owned Real Shanghai and
yeah.
He was so good on it, but he'd always have to be at work. There's just so many talented people who are in the industry that are working at the same time as we're doing stuff. I don't know. When are you going to judge? You can judge the next one.
Oh, that's been on my mind ever since we started this interview and to say how hard it is.